Eu cansei de ouvir as mentiras dos médicos sobre a tipo 2. Outro dia eu vi uma discussão enorme na internet sobre pipoca. Tinha gente dizendo que pipoca é liberada, outro dizendo que faz mal. E foi aí que eu percebi porque tantas pessoas com tipo 2 continuam confusas. Porque a cada semana aparece uma nova regra. Uma hora o problema é o açúcar, depois é a gordura, depois é o pão, depois é a pipoca. Enquanto isso, quem sofre com a tipo 2 continua acordando cansado, convivendo com a glicose desregulada, preocupado com o futuro e sem saber mais em quem acreditar. Eu também já passei por isso. Passei anos ouvindo opiniões diferentes, dietas diferentes e recomendações que se contradiziam o tempo todo. Até que comecei a estudar mais profundamente como o organismo processa os alimentos e quais fatores realmente influenciam o equilíbrio da glicose. Foi quando descobri algo que mudou minha forma de enxergar a tipo 2. O problema não é apenas um alimento isolado, não é apenas a pipoca, não é apenas o pão e não é apenas o açúcar. Existem diversos fatores envolvidos no metabolismo da glicose que a maioria das pessoas nunca aprende. Foi justamente por isso que um especialista gravou um vídeo explicando uma abordagem simples que milhares de pessoas estão assistindo para entender melhor o que pode estar sabotando os seus resultados. Nesse vídeo ele mostra hábitos, erros comuns e uma rotina natural que muita gente começou a incluir no dia a dia. Se você está cansado de receber informações contraditórias e quer entender por que sua glicose continua te preocupando mesmo quando você tenta fazer tudo certo, vale a pena assistir. Vou deixar o vídeo aqui embaixo, mas seja rápido. Esse conteúdo já saiu do ar algumas vezes e pode desaparecer novamente a qualquer momento. Clique agora no botão Saiba Mais e assista enquanto ele ainda está disponível. Pode ser exatamente a informação que você ou alguém que você ama estava procurando.
I'm going to tell you something it took me years to understand. And maybe by the end of this conversation, it'll make as much sense to you as it finally made to me. For a long time in my life, I did everything right. I woke up early, I worked hard, I kept my word, I paid my bills, carried my responsibilities, did what's expected of someone who's trying to make it. On the outside, it looked like everything was in place. But on the inside, there was an emptiness I just couldn't explain. I was tired all the time. Not the kind of tired a good night's sleep fixes. It was something deeper, a tiredness of the soul. I was always chasing something, telling myself that once I reached the next goal, I'd finally feel at peace. But I'd get there, and the peace never came. What came was only the next goal. And the next. And the next. It was like climbing a staircase that never ended without ever stopping to ask if it was even the right staircase to begin with. Let me be honest with you about where I was. I had confused movement with direction. I was busy every single moment, but I wasn't going anywhere that actually mattered. I woke up reacting. I went to sleep reacting. I spent entire days putting out fires, answering to what everyone else wanted, living on autopilot. And in the few quiet moments when the house went still and it was just me and myself, I felt deep down that I was living someone else's life, a life that looked right on paper, but had nothing to do with who I really was. And what did I do with that discomfort? I blamed everything out there. I blamed time, which was never enough. I blamed circumstances, which were never in my favor. I blamed people who never understood. I blamed luck, which always seemed to smile on everyone but me. It was always something on the outside holding my life back. Always an external villain, always an excuse, ready to go. Until one day, something happened. It wasn't anything big. It wasn't a tragedy, and it wasn't a miracle. It was just a silence that lasted a little longer than usual. I was sitting there, alone, and out of nowhere, a question came to me, a question I'd never had the courage to ask. It was simple. If I keep going exactly as I am today, making exactly the same choices, do I actually want to end up where this path leads? And the answer, deep down, was no. A no that hurt. But an honest no, and in that same instant, a second realization hit me. And that one was the hardest to swallow. I realized that the one thing all my problems had in common was me. It wasn't the circumstances. It wasn't the people. It wasn't luck. It was the way I thought, the way I chose, the way I treated myself on the inside every single day without even noticing. That might sound like a harsh thing to realize, and it is. But it was at the same time the most freeing moment of my life. Because if the problem were only out there, I'd be a prisoner of the outside world forever. But if part of the problem was in me, then part of the solution was in me too. And for the first time in a long time, I felt like I had some power over my own life. That was the beginning. Not of some dramatic change from the outside in, but of a quiet shift from the inside out. The first thing I changed wasn't my routine. It wasn't my job. It wasn't anything out there. It was the conversation I was having with myself. Because I noticed something frightening. I spent the whole day sabotaging myself on the inside, beating myself up over everything, shrinking myself with every mistake, comparing myself to everyone all the time. The voice that lived in my head was the voice of someone who didn't like me, and I kept listening to that voice as if it were the truth. So I asked myself another question: would I talk to someone I love the way I talk to myself? And the answer was never. Not in a million years. I would never treat a friend, a child, someone dear to me with the harshness I treated myself with every day. And right there, I understood that you can't build a big life while you're tearing yourself down on the inside. So I started to change that, slowly, not overnight. Every time that harsh voice showed up, I'd catch it, breathe, and trade it for a voice that was firmer and kinder. It wasn't some nice self-help slogan. It was practice, repetition, day after day. At first, it even felt forced. But over time, it became natural. And something I didn't expect happened. When I changed the way I spoke to myself, I changed the way I acted. Someone who treats himself with respect starts making more dignified choices. That was the first choice. And it opened the door to all the others. Now, I have to be honest with you about something. Because I hate when these stories get told like they were perfect. It wasn't a straight line. I slipped many times. There were days the old voice came back full force. There were weeks I gave up on everything I'd started and went right back to autopilot. There were moments I looked back and thought, it's no use, this is just who I am. But that's where I learned the most important lesson of all. What changes a life isn't never falling. It's the speed with which you get back up. It's not about being perfect. It's about being stubborn in the right direction. Every time I fell and I came back a little faster. And that maybe was the real turning point. I stopped demanding perfection from myself, and I simply refused to quit. The second choice was a stranger one for me. I decided to slow down. For someone addicted to being busy, stopping felt like a waste. It felt like laziness. It felt like falling behind. But I started setting aside a few minutes of my day just to be in silence. No phone, no noise, producing nothing. Just me, my breathing, and the attempt to reconnect with myself. At first, it was uncomfortable. Very. My mind screamed. My thoughts tripped over each other. That anxiety came up, the kind you feel when you think you should be doing something else. But I kept at it. And over time, in that silence, something began to settle. The waters that were always stirred up started to calm. And when the water settles, you can finally see the bottom. It was there, in that space, that I found something I had lost without even noticing. A sense of connection with something greater than me. With a purpose I could feel pulsing behind my choices. With the wisest part of myself, the part that always knew the right way, but lived drowned out by the noise of daily life. That's when my spirituality stopped being a distant word and became something real, concrete, lived day by day. Not as a religion I followed out of obligation, but as a presence I had finally stopped to listen to. And in that reconnection, two things began to grow inside me, slowly, like roots. The first was gratitude. I used to keep my eyes glued to what was missing, always on the next achievement, on what I didn't have yet, on what others had and I didn't. So I started a simple practice. Every day I'd pause for a moment and really look at what I already had. The health, to be able to breathe, the people who were there, a roof, bread, one more day. It sounds small, but when you start to see what already exists, your whole world changes color. And here's the curious part. It wasn't my life that changed first. It was the way I was looking at it. Life came after. The second thing that grew was faith. And I'm not talking about a passive faith that waits with its arms crossed for the sky to fix everything. I'm talking about a faith that acts. The confidence to do my part with everything I have, the best I can, and to hand over in peace what doesn't depend on me, because I used to try to control every detail, every outcome, every reaction from other people. And it was eating me alive. The day I learned to let go of what I can't control and to focus my energy on what I can, it was like taking a backpack full of stones off my shoulders. And strangely enough, it was exactly when I let go of control that things began to flow. From that point on, my life became a sequence of small, repeated choices. And I want to tell you what they were, because they're available to you too right now. I chose